I know, chugging along. I'm full-time school, kind of part-time work at the moment, but surviving.
Because
Sure.
you're in nursing school.
Correct. Yes.
Is this your first year, second year? How does that go? How does that work?
Like, traditionally, it depends on what degree you wanna get. So, like, just a regular associate's in nursing is 2 years, and then for your bachelor's, it's another 2. I'm taking, like, an accelerated program, so I'm getting my bachelor's in 3, and I'm about halfway through. So I graduate next October.
Oh, wow. That's exciting. Just a little bit of a backup because
Sure.
we met at the coalition, right? The WAAC
Right.
coalition,
Yeah.
Workers Against Abuse
Mhm.
Coalition. Am I saying that right?
It was like I thought it was like Women's Against Abuse something coalition. I think it was women, not worker. I don't know. It could have been workers.
I'll have to double check that when I
Yeah.
put this in the notes because I really thought that was a good event.
Yeah. I haven't heard anything since about it, but as long as somebody's doing something somewhere, then, it makes a difference.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was just really well organized. I thought they had a lot to say. I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope they do more.
Right.
So you are at Dalva,
Correct. Yeah.
and how long have you been at Dalva?
They reopened last January, so January of 2022. I don't even know what year it is right now.
It's hard. It's
So
really hard. Yeah, because all of the openings and then closing and then the reopenings. And
right.
sometimes people didn't open to 2021. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, they were closed for 2 years during COVID, and that's when they remodeled, like, the front bar area. So I started with them at the reopening in January, which was really great. I got to work with some people I've never worked with that I was really like, I look up to them, so that was pretty neat. Do you know Leon at Lolo and T? There was a couple people at Lolo that started at Delver as well. I was really excited to work with them. Obviously, Irene from ABV as well. It was cool. It was a different circle of industry that I've never really worked with. So it was exciting.
Oh, that's so good to hear. I
Yeah.
actually have not been into the new Dalva. I've walked by a couple of times, peeked my head in, and uh,
Yeah.
but I need. So, are you in the front bar or the back bar?
I'm generally in the front. Right now, I just work Saturdays and Sundays because of school. So yeah, I'm usually in the front bar. The Hideout is open Thursday through Saturday, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Okay. Oh my gosh, great. I'm gonna have to go in because I was really not surprised, but just kind of yeah, I guess kind of surprised when I saw how light it was, how they
Yeah.
remodeled, and it was the complete opposite because Dalva was, I thought, one of the darkest bars.
And I think, yeah, it probably
So
took cake for
yeah.
sure.
I mean, it
Um,
would be a good thing and a bad thing, but I
yeah.
was surprised with the remodel and it was just so incredibly light. So
Yeah. I mean, the Hideout is the same. They didn't touch the Hideout. So that's still there. I feel like people really appreciate that.
yeah, I could see that. And then how long have you been in San Francisco? Actually, I'm assuming you're in San Francisco. You live in San Francisco.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when I moved, I'm from Sacramento originally. I moved out here in 2015, but I moved into Alameda. So I was in Alameda for 3 years. And then in 2018, I moved into the city. So I lived in Excelsior for a little bit, and now I live in the inner Richmond.
Okay, no, I know about the Central Valley because I'm from Modesto.
Nice.
So given I'm from the CV. And I also lived in the Excelsior too, way back in the
Cool.
day. So, and then were you bartending back home or were you bartending in Alameda?
No, so kind of funny story. When I was in Sacramento, I was actually already in the medical field a little bit. I was a medical assistant. I got my certification and I worked for 2 neurosurgeons for a little while, worked in like urgent care, and then I worked in medical device sales. I ended up getting like laid off from that job and also some personal life stuff going on. And my friends were like, "You've always wanted to live in San Francisco, just come out here, we'll help you, get settled." And those are the friends that I moved in with in Alameda. So it was just kind of like time for a change. And I was so worried about paying rent. I was like, "What am I gonna do out there?" And she's like, "Just come work at the bar with me." And I was like, "You can't pay rent, like, working at a bar. Are you kidding?" And I guess you can. It's possible. So my first, like, big bar job was I was a waitress at Novella in downtown. It's on Mission between New Montgomery and 3rd Street.
Yes, I know where it's really pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still a really great bar with really good drinks, but it's definitely not what it used to be. I do love it, and I actually helped them out during COVID. I worked there for a little bit to help them out because they were looking for people, so
Do you know, did Novella make it?
Yeah, they did. They're
Just
still
so
up.
that okay, good.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I learned a lot from there. And then from there, I went to Whitechapel. And from Whitechapel, I went to Beehive to Dallas.
And then how long were you at Beehive?
I started there in 2018 and I left at the end of 2021.
Okay.
I think one of my last shifts was like New Year's Eve, basically, and I made the jump to Dallas.
How many New Year's Eves have you worked?
Like the last 10, probably.
I know, I love it when I don't have to work New Year's Eve. Like, I don't go out. I
Yeah,
won't. Like, I'm kinda done because it's such an amateur hour and
it
it's
is. Yeah. Luckily, the last one at Beehive was like a private event. It was really sweet. So it was just like easy peasy. I think it was, if I remember correctly, a couple that had gotten engaged at Beehive or something. They just loved Beehive. It was the woman's birthday or something like that. It was really cute. It was really sweet. It was like 100 people. So it was really easy and fast.
that sounds really nice because again, like, you said, it's such an amateur hour and somebody usually winds up throwing up or they get into fights. And it's just like, have you never been to a bar? So you were in the industry in 2016.
Yes, it was.
What was that, Alameda or was that, where were you?
I was living in Alameda working at Novella and Whitechapel. I did both of those simultaneously for a little while. They were like sister bars. So I had only been working like 2 or 3 days at Novella and working 2 at Whitechapel.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was something like that for a little while.
Because it's kind of like, I think kind of typical of a lot of bartenders. And I definitely have done this too, where you work like three different bars.
Right.
I like it. I mean, it mixes things up.
I think it's less like burnout, like fatigue. You get like different types of clientele, different coworkers, a different vibe at every bar. So it helps you not feel so like stuck. I don't know if that's the right word, but burnout. Yeah, for sure. I think I've only ever done two at the most. I don't know if I've done more than two jobs, but I think I'd probably go crazy. But you wake up in the morning, you're like, where do we need to be today?
Yeah. And then if you start picking up shifts,
Oh, yeah. I love picking up shifts, but, like, the moment I walk in the door, I'm like, "Why did I do this?"
so you have Saturday and Sunday at Dolva.
Mhm.
And how are they? How's Sundays?
Sundays are pretty quiet, but it's industry, like, a lot of industry people come through, so that's really nice. I kinda like it because we get kinda crazy on Saturdays, and then I come in on Sunday, and it's just, like, I get to refill all the cheer bottles, and I know a lot of people don't like doing that, but it's really satisfying for me. They're just like, I don't have OCD, but I kinda have OCD, so it just makes me feel good, like, restocking and kinda doing all the things, and then, the bar is ready for the week, so, yeah, it's nice, I like it.
No, I do too. Like when you have your certain setup and the way you're going to set it up and,
Mhm.
and like a certain order you go in, it's very soothing. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, agreed.
that.
I will say, though, like, since starting school, I've kinda missed being there a lot. Like, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be so nice. I'm not gonna work that much. I'm just gonna focus on school." But now that I'm in it, like, deep with school, I'm like, "I kinda miss work." I kind of don't wanna be on a laptop or face in a book for 8 hours. I'd rather, like, go work and make money and be out in society.
Now, how long are you doing any type of remote learning or are you on campus or how did that go?
So when I first started, the very first year of this program is like gen ed classes, like refreshers. So the whole program, the courses are 8 weeks long. So every 8 weeks, you get new classes. Every 16 weeks, I get a week off. So it's kind of year round all the time. The first year, like I said, is gen ed. That was all online, like not even Zoom. It's pretty much like self taught, self paced. You have a professor and they're there to like answer your emails or questions, but they'd give you assignments like, "Hey, read all this stuff. Everything's due by Sunday." So it was kinda strange and new for me. My favorite story, my friends have heard this story so many times, but one of the assignments was like, make an advertising, like, flyer for something in your body, like a cell, and I think I picked, like, the Golgi apparatus or something, and that's a thing in the cell that, like, mails out stuff to and from other cells, like, it's basically like a post office. So I made this cute little flyer, I broke out my colored pencils, and I, like, drew this little thing, and I that was the first thing that came to my mind was like, "Oh, I have colored pencils, I can use this." And I'll just, like, scan it and submit it, and I got an A, but everyone else, like, had graphic design flyers. I'm like, how did you do that? And here I am, like, using my colored pencils. I felt so old and just not with the times. It was I mean, I got full credit. I didn't do anything wrong. I did all the things I was supposed to do, but nobody else had used colored pencils, and it made me feel some kind of way. And then in the second year, like with the core nursing classes, some of them, like the lectures were on Zoom, and obviously, like the skills labs were in person, and you go to campus. And now I think everything is going to be on campus. With the exception of a couple of classes that are like general ed stuff, but and we just started clinicals, so we've been going to like different facilities for hands-on experience, which is exciting and terrifying at the same time.
Well, I think it's cool that you use colored pencils. That's awesome. So that's great. And then
I don't either. I traced a lot of it from my book. I was like,
and then well, what kind of nursing do you are you gonna go into? I guess emergency or like
I have a couple of things in mind. I'm not like dead set on any of them, but I've always pictured nursing to be like bedside nursing. And I know that a lot of people are running away from that right now because of burnout and unsafe staffing and things like that. But I mean, that's what I've always pictured it to be. That's kind of where I want to start. And I want to, get my hands like wet in a little bit of everything before I hone in on like a specialty. I want to like get comfortable with all the skills that I'm supposed to have and the knowledge. So I think I'll start out there for a couple of years, maybe see how I like that. And then maybe later on pick on more of a specialty. My dream nursing job is probably a nurse anesthetist, which is like anesthesiology. It requires more school and it's another like rigorous program, but you do have to have some experience before you apply. So that won't be till further down the road.
oh, I definitely need more nurses and we need stronger unions to support the nurses and we need to stop running hospitals as a corporation because it's all about healthcare. So I
Right.
definitely, yeah, I'm on that boat with you.
Yeah, it's wild. You hear some of these like ratios in other states and things like that. And I think California is pretty spoiled in that sense, but there's still issues here. I mean, California is not perfect, but
By no means, not enough at all. So let's go back to what I asked you about 2016 because like in the questions that I sent you, I wanted to talk about 2016 and I've talked to other people and all the bartenders that I asked
Mhm,
about 2016 and that's really like the start of when Trump, came into power,
mhm,
whether he liked to admit it or not. And I definitely saw a shift in people's attitudes even before. And I had asked, other interviewees about 2016, but I wasn't asking the right questions.
mhm.
I just wasn't doing that. A lot of people, when I started talking about 2016, they were like, yeah, we were making money 2016. That was like the great money years. And I just was like, that's true. But remember, ICE was going to come in. We were getting all of these
Quick
notices
threat.
from
Yeah.
ACLU, like what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
We were bartenders and we can't remember shit because we were drunk. And then I learned that I wasn't asking the right question
Uh-huh.
about 2016 and Trump and the aggression that I felt was out there and I feel still really is.
Right.
Did you have any experience? Does that resonate? Does that make sense? Does that sound something familiar to you? What did
Yeah,
you
I think when you brought up the ICE situation, I remember that on social media, especially here in the Bay Area, where it's like, hey, protect your coworkers because ICE could come and ask for all the things they're supposed to ask for. And they could just drop by, kind of almost like ABC or whatever. Like everyone was just preparing each other, like, hey, you don't have to answer questions. Or it was just all these, like you said, instructions on how to handle the situation. And I know that if you work in the industry, you know somebody that potentially like doesn't have, papers or they're here the way that they're here. So that's scary because you know that at any point in time, like something could happen to them and you don't exactly know what happens to them on the other side. I mean, we've caught glimpses of like what's going on at the border, but who knows? Who knows? It's a scary thing to think about for sure. I know that our bar specifically at that time had some conversations about what to do or like what to say. Do I remember exactly what that was now? I'm sorry. It was, like you said, a long time ago and then COVID. So I definitely forgot everything. COVID just like made my brain really mush. So, but I do remember those conversations. It's something that you feel like you shouldn't have to think about, but you definitely do. even if it doesn't affect you personally or like in your everyday life.
It was such an unbelievable time. What about his comment? Or to just talk a little bit about Trump, because I can't stand talking about this man, but the comments that he made about, the Latinx community, especially about Mexicans, I just, again, like I really worried, again, like what you said about my coworkers.
Mhm.
And I had, conversations with a lot of them. Did that happen with you or?
Yes and no. I feel like it would come up like briefly, but we're at work, so I don't think the serious ones happened at work, but I did talk to like a lot of friends and family, and I have some family that are Trump supporters. So those conversations did not go well. I like being Mexican and Salvadorian and like knowing how my family got here, which most of them came like legally, some of them not. I just, I don't think people want to see someone else's perspective because I don't think it's hard to imagine you're in a country where you're scared and you want to go somewhere else and be safe and take your family to a safer place and have this opportunity to get a new job and make money and take care of your family. That's not hard to imagine. So it's wild to me that people just don't, it's not that they don't see it. Like I don't know how to express this. It's like it's very clear to me and to most people that they're just looking for something better for their family, as anyone should have the right to do. And I think people are just choosing not to look at it that way. They're just choosing to look at it from one point of view, which is they're trying to come without, the proper through the proper channels. And I get that. I totally understand that. Yeah, it's illegal to come here on the if you think of them like as human beings, like you should, which most people, I feel like a lot of people don't. It's really unfortunate because we have the right to pick and choose what's right for our family and do the right thing for our family here, no problem. But other people, you've never lived in Mexico. You've never lived in El Salvador. You've never lived in Honduras. You don't know what it's like to do the right thing for your family out there. Sometimes it's not possible. And I feel like people don't think about that stuff. They're like just stuck on you're coming here the way that you're not supposed to come here, which is illegally. And it doesn't matter why you're doing it. People don't care. I guess that's the only way to put it. They don't care.
I agree. They don't care.
They've never felt that pressure. Like they've never felt so scared or so stuck that you can't provide for your family or whatever. Like people, I'm not saying nobody has felt stress or nobody has felt, that they're poor or broke or whatever, but I don't think they've felt it to that extent. We live in a very, I don't know what the word is, affluent country. Like even if you're poor in America, you still have means of getting help really easily. I don't know. It's hard for me because, I have family that's gone through that, but then I also have family that's Trump supporters. I'm like, how are you supporting this person when like our family has gone through that? It's weird to me. Very weird.
That is weird too, because I have family that are Trump supporters too. And that's always
It's always a
hard.
thing.
Yeah, it's always a
Yeah.
thing. It's always hard. Or if they're not Trump supporters, then they absolutely hate Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi. It's that.
Mhm.
But what my family, the people that are these, pseudo Trump supporters, they seem to forget that our grandmother was born in Mexico.
Mhm.
That they totally, completely have forgotten that.
Yeah. Like you are from her, like you are her
Yes.
family. You came from this background that you're so against. Yeah, it's a weird thing. I like my sister and I, one of the Trump supporters, we don't really talk about politics because we can't. I can. We do get like heated. We do get, emotional about it. During COVID, they live in Arizona. Most of my family lives in Arizona now. It's terrible.
Round zero is great.
I know, I know.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I know, trust me. But I was out there during COVID for 3 months because nobody had anything to do and her kids were doing like distance learning. I was like, "I'll come help you." And there was like a couple of like drunken arguments about Trump and it never went anywhere. Like we never agreed to disagree. It was just immediate, like, how could you support this person? And she couldn't tell me why. And she's like, I don't have to explain myself to you. And I'm like, okay. Like it was just, useless arguments when we'd get heated at each other and it was pointless.
Do you just have the one sister?
I have two older sisters.
But it's interesting because I've had a lot of conversations about the mental gymnastics that so many Mexican Americans did about Trump,
Yeah.
supporting him.
It's weird to me. It's so weird. I just, people would tell me like, well, here's a list of things that he has done that is not bad, that is like somewhat beneficial. I don't know where this list is. I could care less. I just like every politician, every president, they've all done something bad that someone's not going to agree with. They're all, politicians. They're about money, who's paying them, whatever. I don't really trust any of them. I don't really like any of them. But on top of that, you add this like disgusting character. Like his character is just not anything that I would ever picture as a role model or a president. But the first thing I thought, like when that election was going down, was like this is the person that you want to talk to other countries on behalf of America. Like this is the guy. Seriously,
Yeah, it's terrifying and terrible on that aspect. I didn't leave the country between 2016 and 2020 for various reasons, but as Americans, we're already disliked. Like when we leave
yeah,
this country and we are tourists or travelers, we're already disliked
yeah,
because we're that bad.
mhm,
And then this fucking bozo, exactly like what you said, is like speaking for us and making everything worse
mhm.
on an international level. Okay, so we've talked enough about Trump, and again, thank you so much for sharing about your family and about being Mexican American and Central, coming from Central America. It's touchy subject, and I get why people don't want to talk about it. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
I feel pretty fortunate. I don't feel like I've faced a lot of hardship in that regard, but I do see like my family go through stuff, and I do see my friends go through things, and it angers me just the same. I I feel fortunate in that I've never felt discriminated against, or maybe I was oblivious to it, but I feel like I've never really gone through that. But I know people who have, and it's really sad and angering.
I totally agree. So this is one of my favorite questions to ask. When you're behind the bar, what is one of your pet peeves?
Oh, I just
Like,
want.
no, no, no. I'm sorry. You can name as many as you want. Yeah. This is your time.
Oh man. I have so many. I guess I feel like it's a petty one, but all bartenders would agree. I know it. It's when you're busy and people are waving at you and they're like, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. And then you're like, go. Like it's your turn, go. What do you want? And they're just like, a couple of things happen. They either go, like, what do you recommend? And I get that. That's part of our job. But
Mm.
there is also a time and a place. And if it's Friday, Saturday night, and we're like, a few people deep, probably not the time right now. Or if you don't mind waiting like a couple more minutes, like let me, bang some drinks out and I'll come back to you and talk to you about my recommendations. But when I say like you go, like, now's not the time. Another thing that people do when they're like, I'm ready, and you go, okay, it's your turn. Or you turn around to their friends like, what do you guys want?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh,
I thought you were ready.
oh
When
my,
when you tell a bartender you're ready, you're like, margarita, beer, like you're ready. You have the drinks lined up, you know what you're gonna get, you have your card out, your money, whatever. That means like you're ready. I guess another pet peeve, which is like different from that category, they go, I'll have your, let's say, like one of our cocktails is called the Mala Vida. And it's lime juice, it's cucumber shrub, mezcal, and this mala syrup. And mala is like a Szechuan peppercorn, so it's a tingly, nummy spice, and
sounds really
it's
delicious.
it's really good. It's one of our top ordered drinks. You should try it. People see the word syrup, and I understand this. They just think it's gonna be a sweet cocktail. But one of my pet peeves is somebody that orders a cocktail on our menu, and they're like, "Can I just get it without the syrup?" I'm like, "Okay." I understand that that probably makes you think it's gonna be sweet, but you haven't even tried it. You've never been here. You could, instead of saying, "Can I get this without syrup?" Just ask me if it's sweet, or ask me if it's gonna be sweet because of the syrup. Don't just assume that you can, change our drink and it's gonna taste good. I'm like, well, if you get it without that, it's gonna taste gross. And I feel like people think, bartending, you can basically make any drink and change ingredients, and your bartender is a recipe. It's meant to be modified. But if you've never had it, and you've never been here, and you just assume you can change your drink and it's gonna taste good. I mean, who's the bartender here? I'm sorry. Like, it's me, and I'm telling you without that, it's gonna taste gross. And people are just it's I think it's the audacity of them coming in and just immediately wanting to change our drink without having asked any questions about it or trying it first. It's kinda weird to me. It's like if you were to go to a restaurant and order like spaghetti, like, can I get like different marinara sauce? Like just assuming the sauce is gonna be gross or you know what I mean? It's weird. You don't do that necessarily to a chef. You try the food first, and then if it's gross, then you change something. I don't know. It's a weird analogy, but man, yeah, I could go on. I really have always wanted to write a book on the things that people do because I think there's so many things. I don't know if most of them are petty or not, but
It doesn't matter if they're petty or not. Like you're working and this bothers you, then that is important. For me, kind of along the lines when people would ask for a skinny
ugh,
margarita or a skinny
I just think of
cocktail.
Tommy's margarita and I'm like, here you go.
Yeah. If you want something skinny and alcohol is involved, then you're going to drink air because alcohol has so much sugar. That's where it is.
I've had people ask me for drinks with like the least amount of sugar, and I'm like, martini, vodka soda, tequila soda. Like, what? I don't know what to tell you because alcohol is sugar. And they're just like, well, I want something a little more complex than that. And I'm like, well, then you're going to have to get either juice or it has sugar in it or a syrup of some or a liqueur of some. This all has sugar. So if you're on a diet, then maybe you just don't drink or if one of I don't know what to tell you, but
So this is how it is. Oh my God, that is bananas. And then I've also talked about this before. Another of my pet peeve is when people have their phone on the audio.
mhm.
That drives me nuts. That absolutely drives me
They
nuts.
had these guys at Delva on a Sunday. Mind you, it's like the quietest day. You can hear everyone talking. Like we had music on, but it's not super loud because it's not super busy. This guy like starts watching a UFC game at the end of the bar and you can't even like hear it to where you know what's going on. It's just that like noise at the end of the bar. And so I go over there and I was like, hey man, like he was like pointing at his phone and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, is this too loud? And I'm like, yeah, can you just cut the noise? Like you can watch it. I don't care, but I don't really want you to have the audio on. And he was like, well, yours don't have any TVs. I'm like, there's a bar across the street with TVs. Like, go for it.
Yeah.
Or people just, they're on a phone call and they're holding, they're doing this and they're just like, "Oh, wow, that"
Well, I'm the same way. I'm on it pretty quickly. Like I don't
Yeah,
have any problems asking people to lower the volume, read the captions, put their headphones on.
right.
Yeah, it's so bad manners. Yes, it drives me crazy. So what is it that you want people to know about bartenders?
Man, we can get grumpy sometimes, but it's not you, it's the 12 other people before you that did the same exact thing. Like, I know that we have our moments. I know that's not fair because you're not the one that came before and pissed me off, but there's about 12 of you that did the same exact thing that, like, pissed me off. So if you get a grumpy bartender, just give him a second. I can't speak for everybody, but that's like when I do get upset, it's because, 10 people did the same thing and you just happen to be that 11th person that's done it tonight. And I'm over it. I think most bartenders, especially like bartenders of the craft cocktail scene, they have this ego usually, and I don't know why. It's like, yeah, we do cool stuff sometimes, but I don't really agree with that. I don't feel like ego is people are coming in to experience a bar and like have a conversation and be friendly and try new things. And sometimes those egos are like off-putting. So I don't know. I guess if you get one of those bartenders, I'm sorry, just be extra friendly. Or, ask them a question about how cool their drink is, and then you'll probably have an in. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to say thank you once again. This was so lovely to see you and catch you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, I really appreciate that. So I will be in touch when I start editing this.